First Century Diaries by Gene Edwards, Book 1, The Silas Diary, Chapter 2. Torches lit the dark, windowless synagogue, which was now filled with believers quietly waiting for Barnabas to speak. Barnabas, in turn, was thinking about Antioch and the rowdy meeting the Gentiles were having just about the same time. He stood to speak. Everyone present was soon in awe of Barnabas as he told the story of the church in Antioch. But when he recounted the story of Saul's conversion, the room became deathly still. Only a few dared even glance at Saul. Barnabas ended the Antioch story and began ministering Jesus Christ to his listeners. Finally, Barnabas introduced Saul. Since Saul recognized the problem his presence had created, he gave a simple greeting, then offered his deepest regrets for all the pain and sorrow he had caused to the believers in Jerusalem more than a decade earlier. Someone rose. My father died as a result of the beating he received in Jerusalem. He received those lashes in the synagogue where you tried him. I saw it. Then I too was beaten. 39 lashes. The words were angry. Please, interrupted Barnabas. No, let him continue, responded Saul. I have nothing more to say, except that it will take more time than words out of your mouth to cause me to believe you are a follower of Jesus. The awkward silence ensued until someone began a psalm. The meeting ended, and it seemed everyone wanted to get out as quickly as possible. A few did tarry to talk with Barnabas. One or two approached Saul, apologized for the outburst, but then began telling of their own suffering at his hands. Then they asked if the story they had heard was true, that he had been struck down on the road and had seen the Lord. At that point, the man who had spoken so angrily walked up to Saul. Once more, everyone still remaining in the room fell silent. I am Carmi of the tribe of Reuben. I am Saul of the tribe of Benjamin. Carmi turned his back to Saul, then dropped his cloak to his waist, exposing the deep scars on his back. This is what you have done to me, he said bitterly. He then turned and began walking away. Carmi, wait! It was the commanding voice of Barnabas. Barnabas moved to Saul's side. No, Saul protested. Quiet, Barnabas commanded Saul. Carmi, come. With those words, Barnabas stepped back behind Saul and pulled at Saul's toga. Everyone gasped. Saul's back was a ribbon of scars. Damascus, the synagogue. Saul's stripes as yours came from the hands of Hebrew kinsmen. Saul's back is scarred for the same reason as yours, Carmi, for believing that Jesus is the Messiah. Saul quickly pulled his garment back up over his shoulders. It was nothing and only once. Later he had to escape Damascus by way of its walls. In a large basket, added Barnabas. Several of the men who had not yet spoken to Saul came to him and embraced him. Together they hugged and together they wept. Carmi slipped out without a word. Early the next morning, the three men in the company of others prepared to depart Salamis for Citium. Just as they reached the outskirts of the city, several sisters arrived carrying food for the journey. A bemused Barnabas thanked them for their thoughtfulness, while Mark grimaced at the sack they held out to him. Barnabas pointed toward Mark. Yes, do give it to my young nephew. He is in charge of carrying our food, water, and clothing. A third sack of food, Mark muttered under his breath. The journey is all uphill. Your progress will be slow, but there is a way station between here and Citium, explained one of the men. It is several hundred years old, but adequate. As you travel, watch out for soldiers as they frequent this area. Otherwise, your chances of a safe journey are rather good. What do you mean, rather good? Asked Mark as he struggled to sling the sacks onto his shoulders. Robbers are fairly rare on Cyprus. Besides, your journey takes you on one of the safer roads. It is the soldiers you want to avoid, especially those with chariots. They can order you to do anything. Even if you are a citizen of Rome? Pressed Mark as he glanced at Saul. Yes, Mark, even a citizen of Rome, assured Saul. The brothers and sisters from Salamis walked up the sloping road for a few miles with their 3 brothers. Then, as steeper hills beckoned, they bade their 3 sojourners goodbye. 2 of those sacks appeared to be lighter than yesterday, young nephew. Is there any explanation for this wonder? Queried Barnabas. Mark grinned. Well, I didn't eat. Let's just say I have many friends among the slaves who work the docks.